So it struck me that anybody that comes to this centre, or indeed comes to the Buddhist path in any way, has had some varying experience of the first noble truth, that there is suffering. And then I think quite quickly you want to investigate why you have this sense of dissatisfaction, and you're told that there's craving is the cause of it. And then when you move on to the third, before you get too depressed, there seems that there is an answer and a way forward that can alleviate it. And then you have to get on to the brass tacks of the fourth, which is actually getting down to doing some work. And I wondered if it was possible for you to explain the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold path, and maybe describe the 8 stages of it and how they're interconnected, and maybe give an example of each, of a practical way to apply that in everyday life.
Don't much then. Well, look, I think it's really, really helpful with the path, because there is some dispute as to the whole nature of what it is that you're trying to do. Some people say, well, there is nothing you can do because there isn't an end point to the path. It's not like the path is leading you somewhere else. It's like you're already there. Right. But the problem is we don't know that. We have to have the whole problem. The whole problem of suffering is based in a fundamental ignorance of the true nature of reality, right? So it's the fact that we ignore, we turn away from reality and fall into a dream, a belief about, an assumption about the way life is. So the way you overcome suffering is by ceasing to ignore the true nature of reality. So that isn't a place off in the distance somewhere in the future, that's right now.
Right.
And I think it's really helpful to remember that when you're thinking in terms of what the Buddhist path actually is. Calling it a path gives it that sense of heading to some future state, but it's not. The Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. He provided his teaching on how to overcome suffering for unenlightened people, not for enlightened people. He didn't write it. He didn't come up with it for the benefit of people who already knew and understood. Yeah. He developed it for the benefit of people who didn't understand, and it is in the nature of all unenlightened people to be trapped in this sense of time, and we think in a linear way. Naturally, that's how thinking happens. So things have to have a beginning and an ending, and so you travel towards a destination. And I think to couch the path in those terms is fine. To couch the teaching in that, in using the analogy of a path is fine, as long as you understand that actually what you're doing isn't trying to make some future state occur. Right. It's about looking at what is actually taking place right now, to stop the habitual tendency to turn away from reality and look directly at reality. And by reality we mean the unfolding of our conscious experience. So hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking, perceiving, being conscious. We want to understand the true nature of our unfolding reality. And wisdom, which is one key component in the path, is developed from that looking at reality directly. Now what happens is that a lot of people don't know how to do that. The vast majority, 99.9% of people, don't have currently the development of their spiritual faculties, qualities like mindfulness, concentration, energy, faith, investigation. They don't have those developed. So you need to develop those in order to peer into reality as it unfolds and understand it for what it is. So you have another part of the path, which is called samadhi. I like to think of it as mental development, which then leads to the arising of wisdom. So you have to develop the mind, you have to develop your attention, your concentration, your mindfulness, in order to be able to look directly at reality. So for there to be wisdom, you need mental development. And in order to practice mindfulness, to practice seated meditation, the culture of the mind has to be such that you're relatively harmless, that you're not going out with selfish intent to harm, or cause harm either to yourself or to others. Because if you do, then the mind will never be comfortable. You won't be comfortable enough within your own skin just to sit and rest and watch life unfold. You won't be able to rest content in the moment, watching things rise and pass away. You'll be full of guilty dread and all kinds of things. So that there's an ethical aspect to the path as well, which is to keep you safe, keep you protected, and help the mind be calm, be relaxed, and be in a fit state to then to develop the culture of the mind, develop the mind in order to then develop the wisdom. Right. So there's those three parts. There's ethics, mental development, and wisdom. So the wisdom, in terms of the Noble Eightfold Path, wisdom is right view and right aspiration. Ethics is right action, right speech, and right livelihood. And the mental development, samadhi, is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. That's how.
And I take it, are these grouped together just for the ease of convenience? They're not something that's, the path isn't a linear thing that's meant to be tackled one by one. They're all kind of interlinked and all kind of support each other.
Yeah, so like a tripod, the three legs of a tripod is a perfect analogy. So one leans on the other. So to develop your ethics, the ethical side of the training, you need a certain amount of mindfulness to be there, and you need a certain amount of right view and right aspiration, because they're going to inform your actions.
Right. Okay.
So there is this lovely conditioning process that the way that you view life affects your aspirations. Your aspirations affects your actions, your speech, and your livelihood, and obviously determine the area in which you want to place your effort, your mindfulness, and your concentration. So that they all have a conditioning effect on one another, right? And they all develop together.
See, my character type is that I'll be like, right, and let's get to the bottom of this Eightfold Path. Right, where shall I start? So, do you have any advice on kind of what would be a good starting point, apart from all of it?
You've already started. The thing is, if you're watching this, you've already started.
Right. Okay.
Because it begins with that mental reflection, doesn't it? That wise reflection about, well, look, I'm not happy. I don't live a life free of, anxiety or fear or depression. I have those things. And any of this only makes sense once somebody has reached that point of saying, there is something that I can do about it because I take responsibility for my own mind. I'm not just a victim of circumstance. And if somebody's gone through that kind of reflection and they've acknowledged their own involvement in the processes of suffering and the causes of suffering, then they can do something about it, and they're in a powerful position. So the very fact that you're asking the question is evidence that you've really already started.
Right.
And then I think it's a question. I think getting good instruction, being part of a group, not just trying to do it alone, because even a relative long distance away from the centre, how hard it is to keep this thing going. But I think it comes from a real desire to be free of the problem of suffering. Perhaps having the vision that actually it is possible, but then setting about your everyday with a determination to look at life through the lens provided by the Buddha's teaching. Do your actions have results? do the kind of actions that you perform have a consequent impact on the way that you perceive the world around you? And therefore, can you, through making wise choices with regard to your actions, produce the kind of perceptions in life that you want? You know, whether that's with regard to yourself or with regard to the outside world. Do things last? Is it appropriate to get caught up and attached to the things of life when things actually don't last? And is that what's actually causing your suffering? So I think it's taking that inquiry on, but through a Buddhist lens, and having the faith to do that, in order to discover directly for yourself what kind of impact